Hello, everybody. Welcome to my very first Rolls-Royce Substack podcast, where I talk about Darkpool prints and institutional investing. The, the screen right now has got the place where you can find me. You can find me on Twitter at Brian Balance. I've got a Substack that's a little bit for free. You get SPY for free. You get the rest of it for $12 a month. I've also got a swing portfolio that I'm working on where I get trades from looking at dark pool activity. That was looking very good this week until the boys at Mission Control roasted the entire market up and messed up all of my trades. So we'll have to wait for things to cool off a little bit, and then I'll have more things in the swing portfolio. In the meantime, what I plan on doing in the swing portfolio is talking a little bit about my mega chart that I use. This is a combo chart that I've got on TradingView, and it follows very specific patterns. If you can see that we bounced right here on a level. We stopped right here on a level. We retraced to the 50% fib. Then we go up to another level. We'd probably distributed here and then kind of sold off a little bit at the close. So I'm going to do an article this weekend for the swing portfolio folks, explaining a little bit about how this chart works and how to use it and how to set up in TradingView. Let's talk about what I wrote on Thursday. So real-time prints they weren't heavy. They didn't look like buying. I kind of figured they were hiding what they were doing in the dark pools. I'll talk about that in a little bit. The QQQ ETF, we went over all the pivots. That was bullish. The SPY prints, there wasn't a lot of them. They hit them in the dark pools. $15 billion in one spot. It's not really in one spot. It's really coming in at closing price, which means that we don't have any idea where it was or the price. But it was $15 billion. $15 billion is rarely a buy. Rarely a buy. It can be a buy, but usually isn't. My view is they were probably buying and selling yesterday. I said the close prints were 99% chance of selling. Nobody knows if it's buying or selling unless you work at the Goldman trade desk and you put the trade in and you know, hey, I sold $1 billion of SPY or I bought $1 billion of SPY. They can buy $1 billion of SPY at the highs. They can buy $1 billion at the lows. They can short cover $1 billion at the lows. They can do anything they want to. Then I put, it might be good to take some profits there. And then this should have been a clue for me. Bunch of oil stocks come in at the close. When oil stocks come, well, not just oil stocks, when anything comes in at the close or close to the close after 3 o'clock, lots of times that is setting up for tomorrow. If you have a bullish chart pattern and you're expecting continuation the next day, those close prints are what they're putting their money in for tomorrow, and it looks like the oil stocks and the energy ETF XLE went up really nice today. Also, they put a big trade in the short SPY fund, SH, and we had a little dump this morning. So they were looking at their trades and they thought, yeah, we're going to dump in the morning some, so we'll make some money on that too. So that's my summary. Let's start looking to see what happened today. I'm gonna, like I said, I am doing this totally on the fly. I haven't really looked at this that much, haven't looked at the data that much. So we're gonna just start out looking to see what happened. So the first thing is I talked about this consolidation zone yesterday. This is yesterday. Q spent a lot of his time right in this box, right in this 1% range. And then we ramped up. Lots of times when you ramp up, you will drop back down. Probably a lot of people were expecting this to drop farther. What really happens here though is that price will keep going up. They'll keep juicing this up and juicing it up until they get their sell orders in. When the big boys get their sell orders in, they'll get some sell orders in, and they might take it down to here and buy some more. And then they'll take it up higher and they'll sell some more. And then when they get done selling, they'll bring the market down some and then start the pattern all over again. And they sell stuff to not people like you and me. They sell stuff to retail traders that don't know what they're doing. The people that buy Bitcoin at the highs, people that bought $60,000 Bitcoin at the highs, those are the people that the boys at Mission Control like to sell to. They like to buy at a low, buy in a trough, and sell at a high. They did that to the Wall Street Bets people too. I saw them do that. All right, well, let's get into the data. First thing that I like to do is I like to look at SPY. So here's my tab that I look for unusual trade size. This is prints that are outside that cumulatively add up to more than the 30-day moving average. So let's take a little snip of that and then think about it for a minute. So we've got $7.4 billion of real-time trades. These are real trades, real prices. If you haven't read about my sheet, I aggregate trades together that are close in price. See, these are just a few cents apart. If they're a few cents apart, I count them in the same row. Otherwise, I'd have 500 rows of SPY, and I don't want to look at 500 rows of SPY. Some people might like to do that, but I don't. I add them together. Now, this is concerning right here. We've got $3.4 billion of SPY at the close. So what we're going to do there is we're going to take that and say, I look at my SPY chart here and say, well, how much was that? That was it. Around 398 and a quarter. I actually keep all of the trades. I can see what the real price is. Looks like it was 398.4454. So that's an interesting level now. So you look at this chart pattern and you say, okay, look at that. That was nuts. Most people just sat there and watched that smoke up. So now we've got this new level. We got $3.5 billion. That's a level that we would watch tomorrow, not tomorrow, on Monday. So if this thing keeps roasting up, which it might keep roasting up, and it might not. We might have a little pullback. This is a level to watch. If it starts dying and then comes down through here and keeps going, then you know that these are sells and they're probably done for a little while. If it starts floating up, like we've just been floating up the past 2 days without any sell algos running, or very few sell algos running, then this is probably a buy, and this is another level to watch. If it breaks, then you might go down farther. What you want to do is you want to look for a whole bunch of trades up in the sky. I've got let me turn some of this junk off. If you're looking at SPY, and this little trend that we're in, So we had the COVID retrace right here, the 50% COVID retrace down here. We've got a demand zone that formed here. And then look, we've got some nice, these things are like perfect fibs if you're a Fibonacci person, Elliott wave person. I like to make fun of Elliott wave people, but I actually use Elliott wave. But look, this is a zero point 0.5 retrace and 618. This is like somebody programmed the computer to hit fibs to go through here. But the thing you want to look at, if you've got 100 million SPY that is sitting down here, and then you start looking up here in these humping over things, humping over, humping over, humping over, um, then when the SPY adds up to a whole bunch up here, and then a whole bunch down there, then they're probably done for a while and they're going to dump the market. That's what they did up in here. They sold a whole bunch of SPY up here, and then they dumped it back down, held it down here for a little bit. Qs looks a little bit different because lots of the Qs, the tech stocks, are at pretty, they're pretty low right now. Qs is not doing as well as SPY because tech they've been selling tech down quite a bit. So you look for accumulation, you look for trades down here, then you look for trades up here. If this hovers around here for a long time, or maybe it goes up here to the 127 extension or the 1618 extension, which really might be where we're headed. Once you start seeing 50, $60 billion here, it's time for some red candles to print. I like to call those burner candles too. So that's how these levels work. So you'll want to watch this $3.5 billion print to see if we just keep floating up. If we keep floating up, then you can say, oh man, this is great. The good old days are back. And I can just start buying calls all day long and forget that the market's ever going to go down. But if these things break, you start getting a little bit bearish and saying, it can float down a little bit here, but you don't want it to keep going down and break some of these Fibonacci numbers. All right, so I'm taking a long time here. I've got the SPY. I'm going to paste this into my Substack here. I'm going to say something like, $3.5 billion sitting there. Good market pivot. Need to watch next week. Okay, so then next thing that I'll look for is the macro trend. So my macro trend is just a dashboard of what happens during the day. So looks like SPY ended up, and this is after hours, it ended up about 1%. I break it up between total real-time prints and close prints. And I look to see how many bullish and bearish prints we got. That looks like a little bit of distribution. The indexes, the trades for the day aren't as much as the indexes. That's sometimes indicative of a day of distribution, or it can be a day where a lot of the trades happened at the open and the market went down after the open. But this looks like a normal bullish day to me. Then the next thing we look at is the Qs. Those are my favorite. I like to trade them more than any other instrument. And if you looked at my Substack about the difference between trader roles and investor roles, I want to talk about that for a minute. These levels are ones that I watch a whole lot. Like I said, I like to trade NQ, MNQ, and I use my mega chart to do that if I'm doing any kind of intraday trading. If I do longer term trading, those are from dark pools and some technicals that I like. But I talked about this. I talked about this number around 266.20. Everybody probably heard me talk about 266.20. That was my favorite number. And then somebody goes, "Why did you delete 266.20 off your chart?" And I said, "Well, more came in at 265.72. And so if it's recent and it's more than the old print, I just delete it off and put this on here." So look, we got quite a bit, couple $1 billion down here at the lows here. Um, and then, we go up into the sky, we hit a major Keltner channel here, a daily. That's a daily Kelt. And then we come back down. And then we get these two prints here that are real. Look at this. We spend a lot of time around those prints. So I thought, well, shoot, I like um, I like these numbers right here. I like 266.20. We came down here. I'm going to buy it. And then we went a little bit under it. Not much. Probably not enough to shake the investor rolls. Investor rolls would have stuck with this. If he bought right here, he would, gut out some of this mess down here because you got a chance of it going up, and that's just like a 0.5%. So 0.5% to the long-term investor is nothing. Um, and then look at this. Investor rolls made out like a bandit here, and he probably took some profits after this big melt-up day. And then today he's scratching his head going, "Man, I shouldn't have taken profits. I should have kept it for another 2% up. I feel like a big dummy." That's what this is for. They do this to make you feel like a big dummy. They do this to make you say, "Well, golly, if it went up that much, it's going to drop tomorrow." And then tomorrow, guess what? They don't drop it. They do that to make you feel stupid. And then they keep roasting it up until you get real nervous and you say, "Well, golly, it's going to go up forever." And then the day that you get in is the day that they start selling because they're watching you. No, I'm just kidding. They only watch me. So I talked about the clothes prints yesterday, and I drew them in this little box. And the little box is where most of that stuff happened. And then I think that a lot of the clothes prints, the billions and billions and billions of dollars of clothes prints, they happened right in here. And I said, it's probably going to dump tomorrow. Of course, they didn't dump. They were reading my Substack, and they said, "No, we're going to make it melt up a little bit more. We're going to got more to sell." Um, This makes it look like they weren't sells. This makes it look like there's some buys in here because we keep going up. If they have a lot of trades and it goes up, and a lot of trades and it goes up, a lot of trades and it goes up, they're building more of a base. They're buying more on the way up. They like to do that. People think dark pools buy the bottom and sell the top. They don't buy the bottom and sell the top. Um, they were buying. They probably started buying right here, and they bought all the way down there, and now they're roasting this thing up, and then they got some trades sitting up here, and they're gonna wait for us to get up there, and then they're gonna start selling like there was no tomorrow. So I think those close prints were probably bullish. Let's go look at Qs. Look at that on a 2% up day. Look how many trades you got coming in at the highs. I mean, there's not anything real massive in here. There's a lot of trades, but there's about 874 billion coming in at the highs. 874 million, sorry. The next thing I always look at is the large prints, the $100 million ones. I take some of these out of here. take a look at these and see what happened. Now look at Apple. Its price is above those things. That looks like they were buying Apple today, doesn't it? IWM, I don't pay much attention to it, but I put it in here for other folks. Amazon, still going up. Look at this. Well, that's not a very big. If that's a sell, it's not a big one. Microsoft, that looked like it was a sell this morning because we went under it, and then we went up and we went under it again. I have a feeling that they were selling Microsoft even though we're sitting over it. Tesla, they might be buying Tesla again. And then we get some other interesting prints down here. Exxon, we get another SH print. These are all things that you can draw on your chart. You can follow them. You can see what happens when price hits those. These levels are tradable. The algos know about them. Not many other people know about them because you've got to have something special to find these things. I'm going to take another picture of these, paste them in there for everybody. Let's look at the unusual prints here. Look at that. That is a lot of Tesla, and it's a lot of Tesla in the green. $473 million. I remember when they used to have $1 billion of Tesla prints every day. Then look, we've got oil and gas. Those things are up. Semiconductors are going nutso right now. Then we've got a bunch of energy prints. That could be some profit taking there. TQQQ is the Darkpool's day trading. Sometimes those are interesting. A lot of times I just disregard them unless there's some kind of giant one that pops in. For these, what I like to do is I like these to be at least $25 million and above the 30-day moving average. Look at that back. Somebody could probably figure out what they're doing there. Folks, this looks like buying, a lot of buying here. When you get a bunch of prints and they turn green, and those come in red and turn green, and they come in red and turn green, and they keep turning green all day long, that's buying. When they come in green and start turning red and they start getting bigger and bigger and bigger, that's usually selling. There's a lot of heavy real-time prints coming in today. These are things that I spend a lot more time in the swing portfolio looking at and talking about. I paste them in there to just to give people levels if they trade these or want to do their own research. All right, the close prints. Look at this. They launched up Amazon the day after I said they needed to save it. Um, I actually had a position in Amazon too, that I was trading from that data, um, and I sold on the rippy day. It was a great trade. Um, that's what these guys do. The close prints are prints that you don't know the price. Um, they're hidden from you. They don't show up in your chart volume. You don't see them in your chart. They show up after 4 o'clock in those big, sometimes you see a goofy looking candle that goes to a funny place, and a bunch of volume all in one spot. It's not really in one spot. It's aggregated. It's Darkpool. It's hidden. Um, you've got to draw the levels on your chart, just like what I showed you on the cues. Find a consolidation zone. If you see heavy close prints, put a bracket around that consolidation zone. If you see heavy close prints on healthcare, or you see heavy close prints on energy, make a combo chart, or just or use an ETF like XLE. Look at XLE, see if there's a long consolidation pattern on it. Draw a box around it. If you start floating over that box, those close prints were buys. If price starts dying right under there, then you know there's sells. You can use technicals too to look at them. You can use Keltner channels. Is it trading at the top of a 4-hour Keltner channel, or is it trading at the top of a daily? Um, People like to use other stuff, MACD, RSI. Is RSI just all whacked out up there, or is it just getting started? Those give you clues on what's happening. So what I'm going to do when I write up my close prints, I'm going to say this box right here, we're above that box. Let's look at the close prints. When I first coded this, I called them after-hour prints, and that's probably a bad way to explain them. I was trying to explain to somebody those are after-hour prints, and they said, "You mean they came in after 4?" And I'm like, "No, they came in at the closing price." Because real trades can come in after 4. And they said, "Well, after 4 is after hours." So yeah, so really these are really coming in at closing price. I'm not going to recode my system though. So look at this. You got lots of veil coming in, a lot more than the mean. Semiconductors are the highest ones. Look at that. Then you got some China stuff coming in. They're zooming up China again. See that? And then this stuff is like regular stuff. And so really the heavy stuff is Apple, and semiconductors. And so you go, well, what were they doing? Tell me what they were doing. You're a Darkpool bro. What were they doing? Well, I always get myself into trouble assuming that when you're launching into outer space that those are always sells. The real answer is I don't know what those are. I know that you look at this consolidation pattern. Anybody want to guess what they were doing in there? What were they doing in there? Were they selling down there? No. They were buying down there. And then they probably did a little bit. This is probably their first little bit of selling right here. See, you got a consolidation pattern, a little selling, and then poof. Then you get by a little bit more. And then you poof, you sell it. And so what are they doing right there? I wish I knew. I'm not real sure. The thing is, though, that you've got this pattern up here, and you can say, well, tell you what I think they're doing. I think they're selling up here, but I'm gonna look at kind of the high and the low today, and I'm gonna say that this is the decision zone right here, right? And then if we start losing this, they're probably selling up here. Dark pools can do that for a long time. They can bring it up here. I saw when after COVID and everybody thought they were nutso for Carnival Cruise Line's going up. Carnival Cruise Line's not making money. It's bleeding cash every single day. But yet Carnival Cruise Line is roasting up, up into the sky, up into outer space. And it's in a wave 3 Elliott wave, just going crazy. And then people start buying it. And then it goes up and it's in a wave 3 going crazy. And then guess what the dark pools do in a wave 3? In the middle of it. And kind of maybe in the top quarter of it, you start seeing billion-dollar trades up there. And you're like, well, what are they doing? And are they buying up here? Or are they selling? Of course they were selling. They're selling to retail people. They've got their $1 billion that they bought at $5. They're selling it to the retail friends for $10. And I remember telling people that don't buy a Carnival up here because the dark pools are selling. And then everybody said, Rolls, you're a big dummy. You don't know what you're talking about. It's still going up. And it did go up for a couple of days, right before it dropped about 15%. So, my guidance would be, SMH has gone a long way. Maybe he's a little bit tired. Maybe he'll keep going up here to $236, and I don't know what I'm talking about. And they're buying right there, and it goes up forever. What I would say be careful up here. This it probably isn't a good place to buy. It's probably a better place, down here. Watch the zone and see if use this to gauge if we're going up or if we're not. So let me look through the summary here. I'll do a real quick summary, then I'll type this up and I will schedule it to go out tomorrow. So today, another roast up day. One thing I noticed was we had a little dip in the morning. The little dip was almost the exact 50% retrace of the overnight run. 50% retrace, then it goes back up. 50% retrace, then it goes back up. 50% retrace, and it goes back up. That's what they did. SPY, we've got a good market pivot today. It's about $398. Somebody spent $3.5 billion up there. Is it a buy or a sell? Let's watch it on Monday. Macro trend, normal bullish day. QQQ prints, we had 874 million at the highs. We got to watch those and see if we start floating over it or if we start dying next week. Large prints, Microsoft really looked like a sell today. That was like $600 million. That's quite a bit. If you got a question about these trades and if they're bullish or bearish, draw the big levels on your chart. Draw the big Microsoft 243.44 on your chart, and then see if we come down there again. See if we bounce off of it or keep going through, or if it hugs it for a long time and then leaves. Also wonder if they're buying Tesla today. The unusual prints, the ones outside the 30-day average, a lot of that looks like they're buying. It looks like they're buying on the way up. That's not bearish. Close prints, lots of semis today. Lots of Apple today. That looks looking at the chart, looks a tad bit bearish. All right, well, that's my first podcast, all on the fly. I'm going to post it in my Substack, and I'll also put it out on YouTube for everybody to watch. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks a lot.